Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, April 19th, 2018. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. If it's Thursday, it can mean only one thing. The lovely and talented Steve Wiltfong, 24/7 Sports Director of Recruiting, has joined us. Steve, how goes it this fine morning?
Good morning, Daniel. Sun is coming out here in the Indianapolis suburbs. Your boy Bill Kurelic texted me in the first quarter of yesterday's game when Cleveland was up like 16-1. And I was like, Bill, I could have sent you the same damn text a couple days ago when the Pacers were kicking the Cavs' ass. And outside of that run, the Pacers have kicked the Cavs' ass. It's still not lost on me that the Pacers could lose in 5. But what a series. Feeling good about the Pacers coming home to Indianapolis right now. They're not scared. They're up 4-2 on the Cavs if you count the regular season, which, again, I know is a bullshit stat. But I'm excited about the NBA playoffs. I'm excited to be on the show today talking Ohio State recruiting.
Couple things. One, you did actually send some kind of text like that on our group thing.
Oh, I said, Bill, don't give up. The Pacers are only – oh, Bill started working in the middle of the game. That's what it was.
I know.
I sent a text – so I wasn't even talking trash. I just said, Bill, the Pacers are only up 6. You don't need to throw in the towel and start working right now.
It's just another sign that the dean never stops working.
How about the dean last night when the Pacers were were Victor Oladipo game-tying 3 away from maybe sending that game to overtime, and Steele Chambers committed. And he had to jump on Steele Chambers.
Lest you worry, Bucknutters, that story was still up, and Bill had no issues with prioritizing. I don't know how happy he is with the Chambers posse for their timing, but like I was going to say, Ohio State has hooked us up with some content for today. Obviously, the commitment, and we've got a bunch of Ask Wiltfong questions coming. First, Steele Chambers, athlete out of the Georgia area, maybe not rated as highly as some of the other guys they're going after, but they definitely see something they like. Interested to read that he's going to be, or attempt to be, a 2-sport star at Ohio State, football and baseball. Your thoughts on the Chambers edition?
I love prospects like Steele Chambers. I do think that we have him ranked too low. And we started talking about it a little bit. The 24/7 Sports Ranking Council did last night because some of the guys like him better at linebacker. But either way, he's a tremendous talent, a guy that is one of the best two-way players in the country, multi-sport Division I athlete. In addition to that, 4.0 student. You look at him physically on tape, and you see a bottom half that is just rocked up and thick and physical. And then you see the upper half. He's got a lot to work with there, a lot of upside still in him there physically. He's got a chance to be a big, physical, quick, well-balanced running back who can catch the football too. I think like play 5 or 6 of that highlight clip, he's making a diving catch in the end zone. So I think life just comes easy to Steele Chambers. He seems like the type of young man that aims for the bullseye in everything that he does and typically hits that bad boy right there in the middle. He's a guy that sent some text messages out last night. You could tell he was definitely at the top of Ohio State's board. If you read Bill Kurelic's story, he's a guy that's coming to Ohio State to play running back. Ohio State's in on some other good running backs now. Noah Cain, the Ford kid from Virginia, Steele Chambers.
Devin Ford.
Yeah, Devin Ford. So Samson James and Steele Chambers, those are guys that Ohio State evaluated thoroughly and are excited to have in their program, and the Steele Chambers, he's just an interesting guy, high ceiling, and then it just this was a blow to Notre Dame. If they beat Stanford for Harry Miller, that's a blow to Stanford. Those are kids that, I mean, Ohio State, they can recruit any kid from anywhere in the country. They don't mess around with Louisiana or Alabama kids, so Ohio State can be a factor in 48 states with any kind of kid, and they're showing their recruiting chops again with the Steele Chambers get. Just an impressive recruiting win for Ohio State, in my opinion, and a young man that's got a ton of upside.
Steele Chambers also should be very, very thankful to his parents. First of all, for the genetics. Second of all, for his name. Steele Chambers sounds like it should be like James Bond's heir apparent. So I'm going to say it's one of the top 5 names ever for an athlete. Now let's get to it. Like I said, this is going to be the You've Done the Work for Me section of the show. We have asked you to ask Steve Wiltfong a question. We posted a thread on the front row, and we got a bunch of interesting ones. We're going to kind of pick and choose here. And then the ones we don't get, we will roll into next week's show or address them on the message board or something like that. Starting out, first question. In your opinion, who is the best overall player in the class of 2019?
I think it's Zach Harrison from a prospect standpoint. He's a young man that's already run under 22 seconds in the 200 and under 11 seconds in the 100 as a 6'6", 240-pound junior in high school. There's no one like him that I can think of that I've covered from just an upside trait standpoint. I mean, as a pass rusher, he's just got some freakish ability. He's the number 1 player in the country in the top 247 player rankings because of his upside as a prospect.
That was an incredible stat you started off with. I did not know that he ran that. Running the 200 is not an easy event. Even I'd like to just see that on video. I'm gonna effort that and get that up for the people. That's unbelievable. By the way, guess who lives across the street from his high school? The dean.
Dean needs to go to a track meet then. Those numbers I gave you are from my friends at Tracking Football. I had lunch with them on Monday. They had some interesting data, but Zach Harrison is a freak of all freaks.
I don't know this, but I'm not sure how many United States residents have ever done that. You know what I mean? Like the combination of size and speed. That you could probably talk about a handful of dudes.
I mean, who knows if he'll be the type of athlete or the type of performer that like a Bo Jackson was. But that's like some Bo Jackson legendary stuff right there.
From Kemp K, Steve Wiltfong, you're the expert on Indiana prospects. What is your opinion on Craig Young? Is he higher on the Buckeyes board than David Bell? Why don't you introduce those two guys to us quickly for those who don't know and then set it up?
Yeah, David Bell is the number 1 ranked prospect in Indiana for the 24/7 Sports. He's from Indianapolis. He's a receiver that also had a terrific basketball season, leading his team to an undefeated state basketball championship, where they beat a high Division I player in every playoff game to win the championship. And then Craig Young is a fast, interesting athlete out of the Fort Wayne area. May project better as an outside backer than a receiver, just because I don't know how natural his hands are. So that's the rub. David Bell could commit to Ohio State today, and I believe that they would take his commitment. Craig Young is one where I think Ohio State's definitely very intrigued by him and his athleticism and speed, but I think they would love to see him in camp this summer before taking that up another level.
Here's a question. If Steve was the GM of the Reds, who would he hire to replace Brian Price? Someone from the Cubs, I assume?
Oh, man. I'm not like I don't have a GM Rolodex, so I don't know. I just know the Reds suck right now. But one of their wins is against the Cubs, so that sucks for the Cubs who aren't playing well right now.
I would say to McCaig, who asked the question, should send a private message to Dave Biddle, and you'll probably get...
I don't even know if Marge Schott's still alive. Is Marge Schott still alive?
Oh, Marge. Ladies and gentlemen, first ever BM5 with a Marge Schott reference. So mark this down on your calendar. I wasn't sure that was ever going to happen. Steve, how do you feel about the following players becoming Buckeyes? Brandon Smith and Bru McCoy.
I don't feel good. Now, with Brandon Smith, I think that Ohio State that could be interesting, but I don't forecast any of them in the class. Bru's going to stay out west, I would imagine, and Brandon Smith maybe, but I don't see it right now. But obviously, recruiting changes and ebbs and flows, so we'll see.
Okay, Bru McCoy is arguably the best player in the class. I mean, Zach Harrison's we talked about, but if you would have said Bru McCoy there's an argument to be made at least. From modern day out west, I think I agree with that. Brandon Smith is going to hurt me. I believe he's the Mineral, Virginia. He is as fast an edge presence as you will see. I have a feeling you're going to tell me he's going to go to Penn State.
Well, they're definitely in there, but don't sleep on like Clemson and programs like that too. And Brandon's another one of those guys that's in that kind of freakish athleticism territory with Zach Harrison, as you alluded to.
Brandon Smith, if you haven't watched this tape yet and you are a fan of football, be happy because you have something to look forward to today. I'm not even kidding. I think of everybody I've watched in this class. Now, his position, the end rush guy, those guys jump off the screen when they're good, so I get that. But I remember Chris Spielman saying you don't aim for the running back or you aim for the ball carrier, you aim behind them and cut through them, and that is what Brandon Smith does, dude. He destroys people, so that's a bummer. I'm not going to go too hyperbolic, but if he goes to Penn State, that would worry me legitimately, and I can't say that about almost any other prospect. Okay.
Well, Penn State's not going away. I mean, they lost a lot of guys, key guys, but I still think they have a shot to be a top 10 football team this year with what they're reloading with, and we'll see what they do at offensive coordinator. Ricky Ronnie, he called a good bowl game, but now he's got to call a whole season. I mean, I think he'll do a good job, but that's a one thing that I guess is a question mark. But they have a really good coaching staff, and they have good players. They've recruited well, and they obviously have a good strength coach. If you watched the NFL Combine and saw how much more athletic those guys got from high school to the college or the NFL Combine, so they're not going anywhere. And the Big Ten, I really do think they gutted themselves last year. I don't think it was a down year in the Big Ten. I think Ohio State and Penn State, I mean, you saw Oklahoma give Georgia hell in that semifinal, and I don't see why Ohio State or Georgia or Ohio State or Penn State or wouldn't have been able to do the same there. Sorry, I'm struggling. That's
all right. And you're right. Penn State really impressed at the Combine. That's a good sign. It's an indictment of Franklin, though, if they don't pick it up on offense, because that's his background. I know they lost Moorhead to Mississippi State, and a lot of people are worried about that. But this is kind of Franklin on the burner here. Okay. Steve, who would win in a dance competition between me and Dan Rubin? Dave Biddle posted that. That's hubris for Dave to even think he has my kind of moves. Obviously, I would let you answer that.
I honestly believe it would be you. Like
correct.
Just knowing what I know about both of you guys, I just can't picture. Biddle the dude that goes out there for all the synchronized dances? That's probably his MO.
He could do the hustle. He does a mean Macarena. I'm not gonna lie to you. Really gets into great facial expressions. But I'll see if I can get you some video on that. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, this is here come the ratings. Even though recruiting is your wheelhouse, as an outside objective, this is from GZ78. Even though recruiting is your wheelhouse, as an outside objective observer, who do you think should be the starting quarterback at Ohio State, Joe Burrow or Dwayne Haskins?
So I haven't read every single article about the spring camp. How's Tate Martell doing?
Real well.
I think he showed that it's a three-man race.
No, I don't think so. I think he made what Urban is saying. Good one. In terms of reality, I don't think Martell is ready. What it looked like in the spring game is you can see the lateral quicks and just the burst but he's a run-first guy. He doesn't throw it great just yet. I had someone tell me who was at the event that they should put him at slot receiver. They were that impressed with how quick he was, but I think
he's a thick kid too.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd have to lean towards Haskins just because he would have multiple years to be your starter, and so you almost have to go through this again next year if you go with Burrow, right? And then you have a Haskins.
Well, technically, Burrow's a redshirt sophomore, so he could start for 2 years, but that concern.
Fair enough.
There.
You're right. Good call. You're right. I don't really know. That's just a tricky question for me because so much of being the quarterback at Ohio State isn't about ability. It's about how big your balls are because you're going to have to play in some big games, and there's going to be a ton of scrutiny on the position. That's why, I don't worry about Tate Martell there. You know what I mean? If he's not ready to go, Tate Martell is my favorite on the depth chart from an intangible standpoint. I just really think that when it's his turn to be Ohio State's starting quarterback, he's going to thrive like Trace McSorley and those guys. So who are you more confident can, make a big play in big games or not, for lack of better words, shit the bed? I'm glad it's a PG-13 show we got here. Now, Haskins really showed me a lot coming into that Ohio State-Michigan game, and that was a game that Ohio State could have lost. And Haskins came in and made a couple plays. Haskins came in and made a couple plays and won the game, and that showed me a lot. And it also showed me where things stood on the depth chart. Or was Burrow hurt at the time? I don't know. I forget. Yep. But
when I watch them, I don't get a strong vibe either way. Usually I do. I mean, it's not forming an opinion is not a weakness for me. But when I watch them play, I don't have either one of them. I mean, literally, you could make an argument to me right now that this season will go one way could go the same with each, or I don't have any thought on that. The reason I think I would go with Haskins, I just think because of his arm talent, you maintain the upside of the receivers a little higher. And your deep passing game, which I think is the missing ingredient to them getting back to national championship status, I think Haskins has a better chance of that, and that would be the only reason, and I fully admit that could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know either. I do know that Haskins was one of the best, most natural throwers of the football on air. When he was in high school, he was really pretty throwing it, so he obviously has a fantastic arm and has the traits to make all the throws. But Burrow is a great athlete too now, and a multi-sport kid and a coach's kid. So I don't know. Ohio State's going to be good regardless of who they run out there under center, even if it was Martell.
Yeah, that's true. But it's a big decision. And, if one of them leaves, you're one play from Martell being in there. So I do think that the most likely thing right now is that Martell will be the backup. Who the starter will be. If I had to gamble, I'm going to gamble on Haskins. But if Herb chooses Joe Burrow, I would understand that as well. All right, last question. Which offensive tackles do you think Ohio State sits in best position with in the 2019 class? Here's what I'd like you to do. Let's talk about Darnell Wright for that one and address that. Did we already do the Darnell Wright question? I don't think we did.
No, we didn't, but we can kill.
Okay. Look, hit that one and then go on to the one we talked about before the show. You crystal balled Kevin Pine to Notre Dame and Paris Johnson to Stanford. How do you feel about those 2020 tackles? So first, 2019 tackles with a focus on Darnell Wright, and then 2020 with the Pine-Johnson smart school conundrum.
Okay, and since I'm not in front of my computer, I may need a little help remembering some names off the top of my head. But first, with Darnell Wright, I was surprised yesterday to find out that Ohio State, unless I was being BS'd, which, you always worry about that, I guess, with recruiting. Ohio State's not in the lead group. I talked to a couple of people on that. I think the Buckeyes have their commitment from West Virginia on the offensive line, and it's Doug Nestor.
Okay.
And it's not Darnell Wright. I think Darnell Wright is looking more at Alabama, Tennessee. I think those two are in a great spot. And then you also have Clemson and Georgia in there. Virginia Tech's done a really good job in Miami. So Ohio State will keep swinging, and who knows, maybe he'll come back to campus. But they would have to rally based on everything I'm hearing for Darnell Wright. And then I know I have Trevor Keegan crystal ball to Ohio State, the number one recruit in 2019 in Illinois on the top 247 player rankings, offensive tackle. So I know I have him. Who else has offers?
In 2020?
19. They asked who else I think they could get. If you go to the offer spot on Bucknuts there, if you look at the offers and go to
just of the tackles, you mean?
Yep. So Keegan is one that I know I have forecasted to Ohio State.
This is for 2020 or 2019?
19. I'm just finishing that. They said, what tackles do you think Ohio State will get in 19? Keegan's one of them. They already have.
Yeah, Trevor Keegan. It's interesting. You guys he's rated 15th in the 2019 composite. Interesting. Other guys, other names, Devontae Dobbs, Kenyon Green, Darnell Wright.
So they could
Tyler
get
Johnson.
Dobbs. They definitely could get Dobbs. Not going to get Tyler Johnson.
And then Logan Brown's already was Wisconsin. Quinn Carroll?
In it, but I think he goes to Notre Dame. Visiting Notre Dame this weekend again.
Other names? Xavier Truss?
In it, but I think I like Penn State right now.
Yeah, and then Keegan. It's about as low as we're going to go here.
Okay.
I think they're in good shape. Devontae
Right.
Dobbs, our number one guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They're in it for Dobbs.
Do you think?
Well, he was just at, they're in the top 2 or 3 for Dobbs. And they were just at, Dobbs was just at USC. He's nowhere close to deciding, but they're in the top 2 or 3 for Dobbs, who maybe project more inside than outside. But they're in the lead group for Dobbs. The 2020 tackles real quick. I have Paris to Stanford just because I think that combination is what he's looking for. But he's obviously been to Ohio State a lot, so maybe the Buckeyes do lead. And then the Pine kid, his cousin, just committed to Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's kind of what he's looking for. Notre Dame, Stanford, what a source said. But it's early. Who knows? At this time, I thought Darnell Wright was going to Ohio State. So you never know.
It's true. You never know, Bucknutters. We appreciate Steve stopping by. If there were any questions on there that were not addressed, we'll hit them on the message board. Have a good one, Bucknutters.
Take care, gentlemen. Go Pacers.